In this video, I want to try to work on solving an equation that we have already written in factored form. So here pretty soon, we're going to start factoring equations where we're given some polynomial and we have to factor it and come up with a solution or multiple solutions. But here we're already given an equation that's already factored out. Okay, so we're gonna get a kind of an easy intro into this. So let's take a look at the first example here. We have v minus 7 in parentheses times v plus 2 in parentheses. If you were to FOIL this out, you would get some degree 2 polynomial, but thankfully it's already written in factored form. So the idea here is you want to find out when this equation is equal to 0, okay? And if you remember anything about multiplication, basic multiplication facts, anything multiplied by 0 is 0. Having said that, we have to figure out what would make either of these factors equal to 0. Our two factors are v minus 7 and v plus 2. So in order to solve this, we should just set each of these factors equal to 0. Okay, so let's let v minus 7 equals 0. To solve this, we just add 7 to both sides, and we have that v is equal to 7. Okay, so if we were to take v is equal to 7 and plug it into this equation, we would have, just as a side note, we would have 7 minus 7 times 7 plus 2. And that would be equal to 0 times 9, which is just 0. So it doesn't actually matter what's going on in the v plus 2 factor, because we know that 7 minus 7 is equal to 0. This whole thing is going to be equal to 0. So we know that v equals 7 is one of our solutions. Okay? Let's check the other one. Let's check v plus 2. So if we set v plus 2 equal to 0, we can take 2 from both sides, and we'll end up with v is equal to negative 2. All right, so if we were to plug in v equals negative 2, we would have negative 2 minus 7 times negative 2 plus 2, and this would be equal to negative 9 times 0, or just 0. Okay, so our two solutions for this equation are v equals 7 and v equals negative 2. Either one of these would make this equation equal to 0. Okay, let's take a look at another example. Here we're given 5x plus 1 in parentheses times 9 minus x in parentheses is equal to 0. So we want to figure out when this equation is equal to 0. Again, we have this in factored form. So let's take a look at the 9 minus x first. That one looks a little easier, so let's deal with that one first. So if we set 9 minus x equal to 0, we can add x to both sides, and we'll get that x is equal to 9. Okay? Now, if we were to plug x equals 9 into this equation, we would see that 9 minus 9 is 0, and therefore it doesn't matter what we have for 5x plus 1, because 9 minus x is equal to 0, so the whole thing must be equal to 0. So we know that x equals 9 is one of our solutions. Okay, let's check this one now. We'll set 5x plus 1 equal to 0. So we can take 1 from both sides. All right, and that'll give us 5x is equal to negative 1. Now we can divide 5 from both sides, and we'll get x is equal to negative 1/5. Okay, now if you were to plug x equals negative 1/5, you'd find, into this equation, you would find that for x equals negative 1/5, 5 times negative 1/5 is negative 1, so plus 1, that will give us 0, and therefore this whole equation would be equal to 0. So this is also one of the valid solutions to this equation.